What is going on, everybody? This is Franz, and we're here for the newest unscripted episode. I believe this is episode 8 for February 24th, 2018. We are one day away from the Elimination Chamber, where if these allegations from Roman Reigns are true, things could get really ugly for WWE in no time. We will get into the Johnny Bravo things as we get through this episode. Before we talk about anything else, I do want to talk about the Dusty Road Tag Team Classic brackets and the Cruiserweight Classic and the Cruiserweight Championship Tournament brackets have been released. First, we'll start with the Cruiserweights. As you see here, we have Cedric Alexander versus TJP and Roderick Strong and Kalisto versus Kalisto, Mustafa Ali versus Buddy Murphy, and Drew Gulak versus Mark Andrews for your quarterfinals. Now, this tournament bracket right here, I am a little disappointed in how they put this bracket together because I was hoping Roderick Strong and Cedric Alexander would be the final two, with the winner going the final two at Wrestlemania. But that is not the case. They will be in the semifinals, at least if they get that far. I do see Cedric Alexander and Roderick Strong being the final two, the semifinals on 205 Live. I see Cedric Alexander going over TJP, and Roderick Strong clearly is going to be going over Kalisto. Now, on the other side, it is a little bit more, how can I say, unpredictable-ish. Buddy Murphy versus Mustafa Ali and Drew Gulak versus Mark Andrews. I would say Buddy Murphy and Mustafa Ali is a toss-up. They have been voting up Buddy Murphy, but I could see them easily go with Mustafa Ali. I think on the bottom part of this bracket, we're also going to have Mark Andrews get taken out by Drew Gulak after what he did against Tony Nese last time we saw him and how devastating he looked. I could easily see it being Drew Gulak and Mustafa Ali or Buddy Murphy, because both of those are Sans baby faces. So it's a toss-up with Mustafa Ali and Buddy Murphy, but I think Drew Gulak is going to get the nod over Mark Andrews for the simple fact is they've given him this grit and grind version of him. He looks scary as can be when he was going against Tony Nese towards the end of that match. That match just he went from being this guy that I think Tony's gonna weigh into, holy shit, what the hell happened with Drew Gulak? Now, when we get to the semifinals, if I go with what I want to see happen, I think it's going to be Drew Gulak in the finals, and we're going to see Roderick Strong beat Cedric Alexander, and it's going to be Roderick Strong or Cedric Alexander. Roderick Strong or Drew Gulak as the Cruiserweight champion. Is that how they're going to go with it? Probably not. I would probably see them going with Cedric Alexander, because this guy has been floating around in Vince McMahon's version of 205 Live since the beginning. And he's just been floundering there. They haven't done anything with him. He hasn't been in title plans at all. So this could be his way of getting the Cruiserweight Championship. I remember when the Cruiserweight Classic, his match against Kota Ibushi was over, the Please Sign Cedric chants through the entire crowd. This guy has been needing something more than what they have been giving him. So I could see it being Cedric Alexander going over Roderick Strong. But who knows, maybe, just maybe, when they go over Cedric Alexander and Roderick Strong turns to the dark side. Turns to the dark side. Because right now, that happens, there was 3 baby faces and a heel, and then 3 baby faces and a heel. So the heels lose out on this right now. So I could see them having Roderick Strong turn to the dark side and steal the victory from Cedric Alexander, moving on to WrestleMania. We will have to wait and see. We still have plenty of time. The next the quarterfinal matches will be happening this coming week on Tuesday, and the week after that, which leaves us with way too much time for this Cruiserweight tournament. I'd say they're probably going to have the semifinals the week after, and then they'll have build between the two people going to the WrestleMania, have themselves some build up to the match. That was the Cruiserweight Classic. That was the Cruiserweight Classic 1.5, I should say. It is like the Cruiserweight Classic again, only with some new blood and more unpredictability. Then we had the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic. Now, when I saw this bracket, I'm like, I'm a little confused on like half of this. We have Street Profits versus Heavy Machinery. I'm going with Street Profits. Tito Sabatelli, Vader Moss, the Rich Guys with Sanity, going Sanity. Authors of Pain and TM61, going with Authors of Pain. I'm confused on this last one with Oni Lorcan and Darian Burch versus Mustache Mountain. Where is War Machine? There was been talk about this was supposed to be War Machine's coming out party. This was how War Machine was going to make their name, was in this thing, and I guess that's not going to happen. Now, of course, the winner of this tournament goes to TakeOver New Orleans. This will means this has to be over and done with before TakeOver. So, apparently, they said it starts in 2 weeks, which I'm sure we'll see 2 matches, possibly 2 matches. Then, of course, we'll see 2 matches a show, which will be 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and then 4 weeks. So we're going to say about 4 weeks from the start of the tournament, we'll have the winners. I'm going to go with Heavy Machinery. I'm going to go with Street Profits. I'm going to go with Sanity. I'm going to go with Authors of Pain. I'm going to go with Mustache Mountain. Just because Oni Lorcan and Danny Burch, unless they really want to give Oni Lorcan and Danny Burch their first real victory as a tag team, they haven't done really well together. They look great together, they just don't pick up victories. So I'm looking forward to see what they're going to do with this, but we will have to wait and see what happens with the tag team tournament for Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic, which should always be real tag teams, none of that throwing stuff together like we had for the first 2 times when we had Bobby Roode and Ty Dillinger, which only was there to set them 2 up for a tag team match, or the first time with Rhino and Baron Corbin, or Rhino and Baron Corbin and Samoa Joe and Finn Balor in the finals. That just made no sense to me. If you're going to have a Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic, honor Dusty Rhodes, you need real tag teams. So it's good to see 8 tag teams. So we'll see what happens there. Alright, let's move on here. Who was, to start off the show here, who was behind the gauntlet match and how did it do for Monday Night Raw? Monday's WWE Raw took on a vastly different feel this week, with the first 2 hours consumed by a 7-man gauntlet match featuring John Cena, Finn Balor, Intercontinental Champion The Miz, Elias, Roman Reigns, Braun Strowman, and Seth Rollins. It was recorded as being the longest match to ever take place in the WWE. In all, the gauntlet match lasted 1 hour and 47 minutes. Additionally, Seth Rollins also made history by becoming the first individual in Raw history to spend the longest amount of time competing in the singles match. Rollins competed in the gauntlet match of the total of 1 hour and 5 minutes, and also pinned Cena and Reigns. Of course, the longest match before this was Walter Van Erich versus Bruno Sammartino, which they were 1 hour and 20 minutes. I believe Michael Cole actually touched on that after Seth Rollins got beat, but the match overall was longer. Of course, Seth Rollins became the first individual in Raw history to spend the longest amount of time competing. Of course, he surpassed Name Redacted, aka Chris Benoit, versus Triple H in an Iron Man match, which of course went 1 hour. The person behind this match reportedly Vince McMahon, who suggested the idea of the match out of nowhere, which surprised many as he is not a fan of such matches. Normally, McMahon is reported to have approved the whole format from top to bottom, which means he decided who was going to be in what order, how long each segment was going to go, and why he had been Seth Rollins go the longest. We'll touch on that later. How did the viewership for Raw end up happening, with the Women's Championship, Alexa Bliss, Mandy Rose, and Sonya Deville losing to Sasha Banks, Bayley, and Mickie James after all this? The first hour, no surprise to anyone, drew 3.282 million viewers. This is up from last week's 3.015 million viewers. Well, when the first hour was nothing but good wrestling, everyone's gonna watch. What a fucking concept! How hard is it to have good wrestling on your show? It was 1 hour of just greatness between Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns, and Seth Rollins and John Cena. Yes, I even put a thing on Twitter. They put a thing on Twitter when it said, who's going to win this gauntlet match? And I even responded to that. Give me a reason to care, because it was a gauntlet match with nothing. And these guys put in the work to make it great. The first hour drew, of course, 3.518. The second hour drew 3.509. They started to drop off. The fans really started to tune out as soon as Seth Rollins got eliminated. Which this was definitely up from the 3.261 million from last week's show. In the final hour, and this is a big, massive drop. The final hour of Raw drew 2.821 million viewers. This is down from last week's 2.837. So when you have the first 2 hours of Raw in the 3.0 plus, 3.5 for the first hour and 3.2 for the second, and your third hour drops all the way down to below to 2.821, that's bad. That just shows you Raw needs to be 2 hours. If this was just a 2 hour Monday Night Raw and you had this entire thing right here and it was just a gauntlet match, that would have been a damn good episode of Raw. It would have been the best episode of Raw we've had in like forever. So that just shows that Monday Night Raw needs to be 2 hours. There's no reason for the 3 hours. And then you go from the great gauntlet, the good gauntlet match to Titus Worldwide versus The Bar, which I did say in my preview and predictions that The Bar was probably going to have their tag team titles on the line against Titus Worldwide, and they will. I already have my prediction on that. But you have those two teams, which the tag team division on Monday Night Raw has been god awful since Jeff Hardy got hurt and you broke up Enzo and Cass and all the other things that happened. So Raw needs to this doesn't tell Vince McMahon that Raw needs to go down 2 hours. I don't know what else you can tell him. 3.5, 3.2, and a 2.8, which just shows that when you go from a gauntlet match that everyone was writing off from before the show even started to everyone enjoying it, to Titus Worldwide versus The Bar, a rinse and repeat promo between Bray Wyatt and Matt Hardy on the monitor, to a rinse and repeat 6-woman tag team match between Absolution and Alexa Bliss was the person filling in this time, and Sasha Banks, Bayley, and Mickie James. Who cares? If I'm going to see those same 5 to 6 women every single week, why am I going to care? It doesn't change, and we didn't even care. And this leads into my next thing. The bad ticket sales, it looks like, for the Elimination Chamber. There's some speculation on WWE Elimination Chamber tickets moving slow after the WWE website started promoting them being on sale this past week. And another bad sign, Access is now offering a buy one get one free sale for Sunday's pay-per-view. Fans can use the passcode AXSS AXS when checking out at access.com. The sale ends Saturday at night at 10 p.m. So if you want to get those tickets for 2 for 1, you have to get them before 10 p.m. probably Eastern Standard Time, or they're in Vegas, so probably Mountain Time, just hours before the Chamber. Well, when you have 4 matches, when you have 2 Chamber matches, 2 that are obviously predictable, we know who's going to win the men's, we all know who's going to win the women's, because you want to have a pre-show women's match, and you don't want to throw Asuka's match on the pre-show. You're going to throw the Raw Women's title on the pre-show, and that's about it. You have Ronda Rousey. Nobody cares about Ronda Rousey. If this doesn't show Vince McMahon that nobody cares about Ronda Rousey, then I don't know what to tell you. Ronda Rousey didn't sell you tickets. Ronda Rousey wasn't selling anybody tickets. You book Raw so poorly. The women's division has been trash all year and last year. How do you expect anybody to want to go to the Elimination Chamber for this bogus, this garbage pay-per-view that we're going to see, where we're going to see the men's have 7. Ooh, first time ever 7 men. I want 8. I've always wanted 8, because I figured they could throw a fatal 4-way in there and then bring 4 more guys in. So, not a big deal to me. But these first time evers are just not going to do anything. And if you think with the way WWE has been booking things before is going to change when they get past WrestleMania, you think again. From what I've been reading and what I've been hearing, after WrestleMania, we're going to see a lot of multi-man matches for the title, so we can get as many people on the pay-per-view as we can. So buckle up, kiddies, and get ready for it. So the Elimination Chamber is probably going to be half, if not below half full. So anybody posting pictures on the Elimination Chamber and showing how empty it is, don't worry, we already know. And I guarantee you Fastlane's probably not doing any better. News on Jeff Jarrett's Hall of Fame induction. Who was behind Jeff Jarrett becoming a Hall of Famer? Justin Barrasso from SI discusses Jeff Jarrett's Hall of Fame induction on the latest installment of his In Wrestling on SI.com. Triple H, of all people, Triple H was the man backstage in WWE who pushed for Jeff Jarrett to be included in the Hall of Fame. You know the hell it wasn't Vince McMahon after that Monday night, after the Monday night game show where he's like, it's G-O-G-O-O-N-N-E, gone. Yeah, Vince McMahon holds no favor with Jeff Jarrett. Coming out of this also, following the hire of Jeremy Borash, there was now a question about whether Jarrett could fit into Triple H's team for NXT and development. Jeff Jarrett allies in WWE include AJ Styles, Bobby Roode, Samoa Joe, I'm pretty sure too, as well as Eric Young and Chad Laley, who's also there. All these guys who give him opportunities, who were grateful to him for the opportunities he gave him in TNA. Jarrett is also close with Scott Hall and Kevin Nash, who are notoriously good friends and part of the clique with Triple H. On another note of this, Jeff Jarrett is not close with Matt, Jeff, or Rebby Hardy, following the Broken Universe IP fiasco in Impact Wrestling. So, could we see could there be news of Jeff Jarrett joining Triple H in NXT? Maybe. Who knows? Of course, you won't see him on the main roster, and if he was to become part of Triple H's team when Triple H takes over, he would be part of the brand that Matt Hardy is not on, for the simple fact that Matt Hardy probably holds a little bad blood towards him because of how much hassle the Broken Universe fiasco from last year was between him and Ed Nordholm, and that was all because of Jeff Jarrett. If anyone doesn't know, Jeff Jarrett was the main reason that Ed Nordholm even took the Broken Universe and tried to keep it away from Matt Hardy. So anybody who wants to throw shit at Ed Nordholm, you got to remember that it wasn't all because of him. It was Jeff Jarrett who told him that he needs to try and protect his investments. Moving on here, news on Dolph Ziggler's new contract. More news, I should say, because we did talk about this last week. As noted earlier, a couple of days ago, via Justin Barrasso on Sports Illustrated, Dolph Ziggler recently signed a new 2-year deal with $1.5 million, downside guaranteed per year. Barrasso reported this week that Ziggler's previous contract was worth a downside guarantee of $1 million, so he only signed for 0.5 more, which is still a lot of money. WWE sees this extra $500,000 as money well spent, as it keeps a 13-year veteran with the company and happy. There have been rumors of the 37-year-old looking to leave WWE, but he is always planning on re-signing with the company. Ziggler made the decision to stay with WWE, as his brand is best served there. I don't know what you're talking about, Dolph. Your brand is so tainted. Your brand is just, like, who cares about Dolph Ziggler? You are the $1.5 million jobber. You're going to go, if he takes the pinfall at Fastlane, which a lot of people were speculating, even though we did speculate that at Clash of Champions, and look who ended up winning that match. If you go into Fastlane and you're the one eating the pin, you know how many people are going to sit there and ridicule you for, oh, well, I always wanted to come back, and I'm a necessary piece, and blah, 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 blah. It's like my brand. Your brand means nothing. WWE paying Ziggler indicates that they consider him a necessary piece of their machine. How, like, really? You actually think he's a necessary piece to your machine? Why haven't you been treating him like that? Why has Dolph Ziggler, one of your best workers, the only people who are better at what they do in the ring than Dolph Ziggler is Johnny Gargano, and no one can argue that with me, and AJ Styles. Ziggler is in the top 3 of people I would want to have as my head figure, my headpiece in WWE in a wrestling company would be Gargano, AJ Styles, and Dolph Ziggler. That is my opinion. Don't like it, too bad. But if he is a necessary piece, why has he been nothing but a glorified jobber? He took over the role that Kane had for so many years when Kane was a glorified jobber. That's Dolph Ziggler now. $1.5 million, money well spent? Yeah, I don't think so. So, we're going to see Fastlane's coming up real soon, and maybe we'll see him win the title, which I'm hoping not. You better stick with AJ Styles versus Shinsuke Nakamura. If you want to give him the #1 contendership after AJ Styles is going to definitely be redrafted to Raw. He's definitely coming to Raw. Everyone's like speculating that. Hell, with the Superstar shakeup last year, everyone expected him to come to Raw, but for some reason, which we're all happy about right now, AJ Styles stayed on SmackDown, but he's not going to be staying anytime soon after that. Possible reason why Seth Rollins lasted so long in the Gauntlet match. We did talk about that Gauntlet match at the beginning of the show after we talked about a couple things. Dave Meltzer discussed why Seth Rollins, and this you'll have to take with a grain of salt. This Dave Meltzer, he has been right about things. He has been completely wrong about things. But he discusses why Seth Rollins was presented so strongly in this past Monday Night Raw Gauntlet match in the latest edition of Wrestling Observer newsletter. With Jason Jordan's injury and out of the picture for Seth Rollins, WrestleMania future is unclear. And this is a big if, and I think they need to do this, because we've seen in the past with John Cena when they haven't turned him heel, how it screwed up a lot of people. If Roman Reigns turns heel, you can stop laughing, I know, you can stop laughing. At WrestleMania, the Meltzer thinks that he could have a better opponent after the big show. As a babyface, there are only so many heels opponents for him on Raw, including The Miz, Bray Wyatt, and Samoa Joe. If Reigns turns heel, then Rollins could be a great opponent for him, and that was why he was booked so strongly in the Gauntlet match. Now, yes, Roman Reigns needs to turn heel. If you're going to make him the top guy, he does not need to stay babyface. He needs to turn legitimately heel. I want him to win the title, him come out in a suit and tie with Stephanie McMahon, like suit and tie, have Vince McMahon, Stephanie McMahon, Triple H come out, and he just shakes each and every one of their hands. They raise his hand. Seth Rollins comes out going, "What are you doing, man? What are you doing? What are you doing? These guys have made your life a living hell. You're going to side with them now?" And then Roman Reigns decks him. Roman Reigns decks him with spears and whatever. And then you have Roman Reigns, the corporate champion. He doesn't talk. He doesn't make him the badass guy he was in the first incarnation of the Shield, where he doesn't talk that much, if at all. He just goes out there and he kicks ass. He beats up Finn Balor. He beats up a John Cena. He beats up Seth Rollins. Dean Ambrose, if you're still having him on Raw because you missed the boat on the Dean Ambrose injury, Dean Ambrose's injury, you missed the boat on that. But yes, Roman Reigns needs to turn heel. Not just because, oh, I want to see Roman Reigns turn heel. He needs to turn heel. Because if you don't turn him heel, you try to push him as a babyface, it will fail. The fans want to boo him? Fine. Embrace it. Look what happened every time John Cena should have turned heel. What happened? They turned Ryback heel. Did that help his character? Hell no. That kind of hurt his character. If John Cena had been able to turn heel, it could have been a babyface Ryback against a heel Cena. Didn't do it. Ryback turned heel. Didn't help him. It seems like every time they run out of, if that's the thing with why, and people wonder why the babyface doesn't win often. Why is the babyface not the guy with the championship all the time? Because it's a lot easier, and this is true, it is a lot easier to it's a lot easier for a heel to go up against babyfaces over and over. With the heel, as the babyface should always chase more often than not. The heel chasing doesn't work as often because you're going to have to turn somebody, like the heel, no, the babyface should chase for sure. If you have a babyface as a champion, then you're going to run out of heels like that, and then you're going to have to find somebody like, oh, Finn Balor's going to have to turn heel, which he should, by the way. He should go to SmackDown and become a badass heel. Take the club with him, too, and just have Balor Club run roughshod over all of SmackDown Live and have them all as big bad heels. Or you'll have to have Jeff Hardy, which I know WWE would never do this, but Jeff Hardy would have to turn heel and go up against Roman Reigns as a babyface. If you want this to work for Roman Reigns as champion, you have to turn him heel. Just because you have Samoa Joe, who can play both sides if he needs to, Bray Wyatt and The Miz. That's about it. Who else do you got as heels on Monday Night Raw? Yes, you can bring somebody over, but those are going to get boring after a while. You have more babyfaces on Monday Night Raw than you do heels. More credible babyfaces on Monday Night Raw than heels. And yes, if need be, Samoa Joe can turn babyface. Samoa Joe can be turned babyface. Samoa Joe is, of course, a natural heel, but he can also work as a babyface because he did it in NXT and Impact Wrestling and TNA. He can do it. It's not like it's like, oh, why is he turning babyface? If you book it right, you can have Samoa Joe be a babyface for now. So, yes, Roman Reigns turning heel would be the best way to go. Seth Rollins has already been a heel. It's not like we can't just turn. If you turn Seth Rollins heel, then what was the point of having him be a babyface? That would be another reason why it's like, well, Roman Reigns only has The Miz, seen it, don't want to see it again. Bray Wyatt, seen it, don't want to see it again. The only credible heel that he has, because Braun Strowman is a heel, Brock Lesnar's not going to be around for like, I don't know how long. Who knows what he's going to be doing at SummerSlam? But the only heel that Roman Reigns has as a quote-unquote face is Samoa Joe. So what are you going to do? Because we don't want to see Bray Wyatt, and Bray Wyatt's got nowhere to go. Miz is off doing the Intercontinental Championship thing. Who knows what they're doing with him? Have some Roman Reigns turn heel the night after WrestleMania. You like those big moments. They love having the Raw after WrestleMania be big moments. Have Vince McMahon, Stephanie, or Triple H, probably Vince McMahon, come out with the Universal Championship and present it to Roman Reigns, and Roman Reigns comes out with a suit, a tie, and just becomes corporate. It would be the biggest and best thing ever. How they would have him turn heel at WrestleMania, I honestly don't know. He's going to be booed out of the building. If you want him to you need to embrace the hate. That's all I'm saying. Will they turn him heel? Most likely not, because Vince McMahon is just a stubborn old fool. Anybody with a brain could tell you he needs to turn heel. It needs to. Moving on here to something that I don't know what these people were thinking. I don't know why anybody would be this stupid. But Kairi Sane was in a match on Friday or Thursday against Rhea Ripley. And she got some of the worst things I think ever. After she was subjected to some racially charged taunts on this Thursday at an NXT Live event in St. Petersburg, Florida. Kairi Sane had responded with a message of kindness. According to a fan in attendance, some fans yelled "Happy Ending" in Pearl Harbor at Sane as she wrestled Rhea Ripley. From Twitter account FL Wrestling Fan, douchebag saying "Happy Ending" in Pearl Harbor at Kairi Sane WWE should be removed from the facility, the tickets should be confiscated, and the credit cards should be blocked from buying future tickets. NXT at NXT #NXT St. Petersburg. Kairi Sane responded to this post by posting a globe with kids of all races holding their hands as they surround the globe. I'm just going to say this. I don't know what the fuck is wrong with you people who want to sit there and think that. Why are you going to sit there? What has Kairi Sane done to you? This is the problem with the world. What has Kairi Sane done to you besides try to entertain you? Yes, you have right to say whatever the fuck you want. When you go, you can put anything on the sign as long as WWE doesn't confiscate it. You can put anything on the sign and you can put it in there and you can hold up your sign for the crowd to see. But when you sit there and say something like that, remember Pearl Harbor, happy ending. How the fuck is she gonna, she probably grew up being talked about Pearl Harbor and different than what we were ever talked about. But she was not even alive when that shit happened. She wasn't even thought of when Pearl Harbor happened. So why the fuck are you gonna sit there and put something like that, taunt her with something like that? And happy ending. What the fuck is wrong with you people? Grow the fuck up. Be calm and courteous of the superstars. If you don't like Kairi Sane, talk to her some other way. But do not sit and say shit like that. That just makes wrestling fans look bad. How stupid can you fucking be? Yes, you should never be allowed in a WWE event again, or any event. You should be blocked from watching wrestling if you're going to sit there and say something like that. Kairi Sane has done nothing to you and doesn't deserve that shit. So grow the fuck up and act like fucking adults. Shit like that is not welcome in the wrestling community. Go fuck yourself and make sure you go jump off a bridge for all I fucking care, because that shit you don't even pull. Kairi Sane is one of the most talented women they have in the WWE. There's no reason for that shit. Grow the fuck up. And I'm glad she took it on the chin and she just sat there and she was the bigger person. Just put a picture out of all these kids with all races and everything, holding hands around the world globe with a little sprout on it. But that is not cool, people. Grow the fuck up and act like fucking adults. Moving on here, man. Bray Wyatt spending child support on his girlfriend, man. Last September, Bray Wyatt 30. I can't stop. 30 years. Bray Wyatt 30 and his estranged wife Samantha split after Samantha allegedly learned that he was cheating on her with ring announcer JoJo Offerman. You know, that nice big ass of hers. Bray Wyatt just loves a fat ass. Obviously, Samantha's ass wasn't big enough. I had to go find somebody else and chew on their ass. Prior to the split, the two had been married for 5 years. After meeting in college, the couple have also shared 2 children, aged 6 and 4. Per court judgment, Wyatt, Wyndham Rotundo, as what his real name is, was ordered to pay Samantha $14,735 per month in spousal support, with the upfront payment of $50,000 to cover legal expenses. However, Wyatt has been paying his wife $6,000, nearly 2.5 times less than the court ordered. First off, dude, pay what you're supposed to pay. $6,000 is nothing to sneeze at. But if you actually agree to pay almost $15,000 to your ex-wife, just pay it. Be a man. Don't act like a fucking child. You're 30 years old, Wyndham. Just grow up. No wonder this guy doesn't give a fuck about if he loses on Monday Night Raw and shit. According to a report from Daily Mail, what has Wyatt been doing with that money? Wyatt has been allegedly using this money for luxurious, expensive items instead of a spousal support. Samantha claims, I can't do it, that Wyatt has been using thousands of dollars to shower his girlfriend JoJo's fat ass. JoJo's big, plumpy fat ass. You know I love myself some fat ass. The report notes that Wyatt spends much of his time at Joe's apartment near Miami. Based on legal documents, Wyatt spends more than $11,000 on non-necessary items between December 20th and January 4th, 2018. Despite owing money to Samantha, items including on this list were $5,006.27 on miniature horses, supplies, and food between $12.20 and $12.29, and $533.93 on jewelry not for his wife at Diamonds Direct on $12.21. Additional splurging costs includes $112.79 at a Miami bar, $139 at 139.60 at Burlesque Club E11, and $285 at Tootsie Strip Club on 102, as well as $118.8 at Stillwater's Tavern and $171.20 on women's swimwear, which was probably bought by JoJo. Guys usually don't buy the women's swimwear, but you know. At Cerulean Blue on 104, Wyatt also arrived in a black Dodge Challenger muscle car to the mediation sessions. The starting price of Challengers of this fashion, according to reports, is $228,995. So JoJo's fat ass was not the only thing. Man. JoJo's not the only fat ass I like. I gotta go see some big asses in the strip club, man. Man, my wife wasn't good enough for me, man. I got. Dude, just grow the fuck up, Wyndham. Bray, just grow the fuck up. Apparently, you got the money. If you're spending all that shit, why the fuck aren't you spending it on your family? You have 2 kids and a fucking ex-wife that you left for JoJo's fat ass, which, isn't that big of a deal. I don't know what the fuck your problem is. If you didn't want to be with your wife anymore, you at least could have did the courtesy of letting her know and, saying, well, it's over, whatever. And you guys are in mediation now, and you come up with a Dodge Challenger with $28,995. Dude, knock it out. You need to grow up and actually pay the money you owe. You owe her before this ends you up in jail. Which yes, it can if he doesn't pay it back. I guess some way it said that he's told her it's not your money, it's my money, which of course that is not true. If it's $14,000, almost $15,000 that is supposed to go to her, that's kind of her money. You just have to give it to her. Yes, $6,000 is nothing to sneeze at, but you don't know how her life is, or what her life used to be. So we'll see what happens there. I see if Bray Wyatt doesn't get his shit together, he could probably end up in jail for this. Things could get really bad for Roman Reigns really soon. Filmmaker claims Roman's 2016 suspension was over steroid ring. As noted, filmmaker Johnny Bravo, no, not the character from Cartoon Network, which I enjoyed that cartoon when it was on, has been interviewing jailed steroid dealer Richard Rodriguez for a documentary looking at the Iron Addicts gym, which was owned by Rodriguez. In an interview with Bravo, Rodriguez implicated Roman Reigns. The one problem I have with this before I get going is this is a little inconvenient that this is all coming out now when we're getting closer to WrestleMania. Why would you just spring this on now when this has been going on forever, supposedly? And with these documents, which I have yet to find them, from one of the pictures I did see, it did have Roman's wrestling name. Wouldn't Roman Reigns use his real name to buy these drugs? Like, that's something I haven't heard anyone talk about. Usually, like, when somebody does a purchase like that, they don't use their wrestling name, they use their real name. So that's not something I've heard anyone else talk about, but it just feels like there's something that's missing. Rodriguez implicated Roman Reigns as well as actor Mark Wahlberg and Josh Duhamel as clients in his steroid distribution ring. Why would Mark Wahlberg and Josh Duhamel need steroids? I do not know, nor do I care. Honestly, I don't think Hollywood has a steroid violation policy, but I could be wrong. In another video released earlier this week, Rodriguez provided emails and phone records of Duhamel and said that he will present evidence of Reigns in the next video. The DEA, of course, arrested Rodriguez and raided his Iron Addicts gym in Miami last February following an investigation. Rodriguez and his company Wellness Fitness Nutrition LLC were accused of being involved in this distribution chain that imported goods from China, then manufactured illegal steroids in Arizona before distributing them out to the Miami area. The ring reportedly made over $10 million in the distribution of illegal steroids. Bravo tagged several media outlets as well as the people accused in an Instagram post this week and wrote that he was on vacation for a key to the Roman Reigns case, and including a photo of a GNC store, which Bravo said was a clue as to what was coming, as seen below. My platform, and this is what Bravo wrote. Oh wait, hold on. Bravo 10 in the post, he wrote that the drug test that Reigns failed in July 2016 was a result of orders that Reigns placed on the Wellness Fitness Nutrition prior to his suspension. WWE never disclosed Roman Reigns' suspension although it was believed at the time that he tested positive for Adderall. My platform, as Bravo says, is not a platform based on rumors. Everything released or stated is based upon 100% facts that have thoroughly been investigated and verified by the appropriate sources. The evidence I have received, including the laptop used by WFN, was released in a court proceeding. It is 100% genuine, 110% genuine. If there are any questions about the legitimacy of those items, please contact my attorney or the attorney of Richard Rodriguez with any additional questions. Lastly, I would not risk my career or reputation on anything that was not based upon 100% facts. More details to follow. He posted on Instagram in a picture. It appears that the drug test failed by Reigns in 2016 was directly a result of some of the orders placed with the WFN prior to the suspension. WWE does not disclose the results of his drug testing as it is a publicly traded company, which I don't think well, they should be, but you know. And there are other reasons related to that. With Reigns truthful and denying knowing Rodriguez, will that or any other info disclosed cause an additional suspension of Reigns? Find out in the full report coming shortly. Now, with this, if any of this stuff happens before his 2016, if all these like evidence and stuff is before the July 2016 suspension, there's no news here. There's no news. Water on the bridge, nothing there. However, if everything comes out and it is legitimate from Joe, I think his real name is Joe Onowale, aka Roman Reigns. Let me fact check that. If any of these emails are legitimate and they are for Roman Reigns, then and anything is after July of 2016, then Roman Reigns is screwed completely. If there is anything on here that is after July 2016, then we have ourselves a major problem in WWE. And watch them try to cover this shit up too. Vince McMahon is so high, so monstrously high on Roman Reigns to be the guy to replace John Cena, that he will bend over backwards to give this guy every opportunity. So I don't know what's going to happen, but we have more on this. In addition to tagging Media Valley, attached tag Reigns, Drumel, Walgreens, and another WWE superstar, Brock Lesnar. It is not clear why he included Lesnar, as he made no mention of Lesnar in the videos or his Instagram descriptions. It should be noted that Reigns denied the allegations when they were first made. In the statement that he was sent out to everyone, he said that he is not only are the allegations false, but he has never heard of Rodriguez of Wellness and Fitness Nutritions. I have never heard of Richard Rodriguez of Wellness Fitness. I don't know what I'm doing. I learned from the mistake I made nearly 2 years ago, and I paid the penalty for it. Since then, I have passed 11 tests as part of the WWE Independence Testing Program. Rodriguez also explained why WWE is strict about their testing policy, but no one can have a bill like many of the competitors without consuming some kind of substances. Well, we all know that WWE is a publicly traded company, and they claim to possess some of the most strict testing requirements for the athletes, so Rodriguez said. However, the harsh reality is those kind of physiques are never attainable without drugs. You cannot walk around 250 pounds plus 4% body fat without using substances. Hence why I said it's sad to see these kinds of people that are considered role models mislead the public and their followers. In addition to Reigns being implicated, Barber also revealed that there are about 15 past and present WWE names who have been clients of Richard Rodriguez. So there's a lot that could be done. When Wrestling Inc. asked Barber why Reigns was the only name mentioned in WWE, and if there was because there was not enough evidence for the other names. Yes, on every individual that Richard has named, I do my due diligence to carefully go through every piece of evidence, as well as verify contact information. Bro replied, the Reigns case is unique because of the way orders were placed and delivered. The reason why I have done each client individually is because all three have came out and said they do not know WFN nor Richard Rodriguez. I am giving detailed information for each person to show that the evidence I have is legitimate, and they did indeed place orders for WFN. Once this evidence is shown, I will not have to show this level of evidence for each individual. Besides WWE and former WWF stars, there are UFC, NBA, and NFL players all as well. If in reality big cases, and I am not coming up with a plan besides the films to provide that information for everyone. The film itself is not a film meant to expose people to portray a message that, and the big names help deliver that message to the public. Hope this helps. Thanks. Barber also revealed in a recent video that the records of Reigns' phone calls and text messages with Rodriguez will be released in the next video, and it will be posted very early next week. So, if all this is true after 2016 suspension, where when he lost the title to Seth Rollins, and then Seth Rollins beat Dean Ambrose for the championship. Well, Dean Ambrose beat Seth Rollins for the championship, and then they, of course, had to build a triple threat match at Battleground between these three guys, in which Roman Reigns was not there for any of the build. That was a lot of fun because, you know, we're not going to take Roman Reigns out of the match because we have this three Shield brethren. And these guys are going to battle each other to see who's going to be WWE Champion going into the brands, with, of course, you know, Dean Ambrose winning by pinning Roman Reigns. So, if anything comes out after that suspension, which WWE got really lucky because they almost had to take Roman Reigns out because of the suspension. But if anything, I could see them trying to cover this up. They did try this. They did this with Randy Orton. When Randy Orton had his second suspension a couple years ago, 11 years ago or so, he got out of it by just they did some kind of a mission thing for him, but they only suspended him for house shows. He still showed up on Monday Night Raw at the time, or SmackDown, wherever he was at, but he didn't have to go through being suspended completely. And I could see them trying to cover that up. Unfortunately, this will not work this time around. We are at a different age in a different time. If this stuff shows up, that Vince McMahon is going to be so screwed. They need a backup plan. if any of this, if none of, if like all the emails show up between now, like before 2016 suspension and nothing after, there's no news here. It's all water under the bridge, and it won't be talked about after that. If anything shows up after July 2016 when he was suspended, Vince McMahon better be sweating profusely that none of this is going to happen. Vince McMahon has probably got to be sweating profusely that all this is bogus and that all the stuff that he put into this guy can go through, because WWE has put all of their trust in Roman Reigns, and with one swift kick it could be over like that, and Roman Reigns is going to need to be suspended for 2 months, 60 days. What the backup plan would be, I don't know, but they need to have a backup plan just in case all this happens, because if they do find hard evidence that Roman Reigns was taking PEDs after what happened, after the suspension, they have to suspend him. And I would never trust him again, because he came out and said, as I read earlier, he came out and said, I don't know this guy, I've never heard of WFN. And then it comes out that, hey, yes you did, and yes you did, and yes you did. WWE is going to have to pull the rug out from under him and find somebody else. So if this stuff comes out and it's all after that, we are going to be in for one interesting road to WrestleMania. Speaking of WrestleMania, something that won't be too much for WWE, but pile drivers and blood have been outlawed WrestleMania weekend. John Pollock, a post-wrestling interviewed Russell Naquin, the Louisiana Boxing Wrestling Commission, to discuss certain statewide guidelines that professional wrestlers and promoters must follow. WrestleMania 34 will be taking place at the Mercedes-Benz Superdome in New Orleans, and there are a host of other wrestling events scheduled in the state ahead of the big event. Naquin noted that both blood and pile drivers are prohibited on pro wrestling events statewide due to an incident which injured a competitor several years ago. In addition, Louisiana requires any promoter who is holding an event to have a license. The state does allow existing promoters with licenses to loan them out to others. Performers are also required to have blood work completed that cannot be more than 6 months old to prove that they are HIV negative and hepatitis C and B negative. Pro wrestlers are not allowed to compete unless this information is submitted prior to them competing. In addition, wrestlers are subjected to completing a ringside physical at the day of the show. These restrictions bring up an interesting dilemma. As previously reported, The Undertaker is rumored to compete against John Cena at WrestleMania and has been training to prepare for the match. With these restrictions, Undertaker might be able to perform his tombstone at the event, since it is considered a power driver. Taker did hit a tombstone on Brock Lesnar during the match at WrestleMania 30, which also took place at the Mercedes-Benz Superdome. However, that may have been before the move was outlawed. Since blood and power drivers have been banned for years, this should not be a major issue for WWE. However, Vince McMahon has promoted WWE as a sports entertainment company to prevent having licenses for every state. Pollock did note that licenses for a wrestler within the state cost $25. Now, that's going to be one thing, because you are going to have Brock Lesnar there, and Brock Lesnar he doesn't do it on purpose. He has sensitive skin like anybody I've ever seen, because that guy could be hit. He could elbow somebody and they're going to bleed. What if it just, like, what are you supposed to do? Stop the match? What are you going to do? What is the state commission going to do if we're having Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar for the Universal title, and Brock Lesnar goes and, like, nails Roman Reigns with an elbow and Roman Reigns gets busted open? You're going to stop the match and say Brock Lesnar wins? What are they going to do for that? Pile drivers, like, yes, they can get around that for The Undertaker. He could just use the Hell's Gate or the Triangle Choke, his version of the Triangle Choke, which it comes and goes depending on what it is. But yeah, not too much to WWE. There are, like, Ring of Honor and other companies too that are going to have that little bit of problem, because you have, like, the Young Bucks who do the Meltzer driver, which is a tombstone power driver with the other Young Buck doing a flip over the top rope. That's going to not be able to be done. There's other people who do power drivers too. This power driver has found a new upswing in the indie scene for whatever reason. And then, of course, you have the blood thing, which, blood is just, it happens. Again, what if we have Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns, and, like, Brock Lesnar gets hit with a Superman punch, and Roman Reigns' glove just nicks him enough to where it busts them open. Are you going to stop the match and give Roman Reigns the championship? You know how pissed off people would get if the match was forced to stop against Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar, and Roman Reigns won via blood stoppage? That would piss so many people off. He didn't beat Brock Lesnar, so what the hell? That's just going to piss a lot of people off if like a match of that caliber gets ended. It will piss Vince McMahon off too. If a match of that caliber would end because of blood. So we'll have to wait and we'll have to see if that affects WWE in any way. And what happens if Brock Lesnar or if anybody accidentally bleeds. Because yes, bleeding's been outlawed by WWE since 2008. But hard way blood happens all the time. It does. I mean, Samoa Joe and Finn Balor had a match a couple years ago to TakeOver that got stopped multiple times because Finn Balor nailed Samoa Joe and nicked Samoa Joe and ended up busting his eye open. It just happens. We will have to wait and see. Moving on here, back to the drug policy for WWE. WWE is the story out here that WWE is not publicizing drug testing violations for NXT and development talent. On August 30th, 2007, WWE announced the suspension of 10 of its performers from violations of the company wellness policy. One of those was not Randy Orton, even though he was in that ring of drug violations. Now officially known as the Substance Abuse and Drug Testing Policy, based on independent information received from investigators from the Albany County District Attorney's Office in Albany, New York. At the time, it was WWE's practice not to release the names of those suspended, but the company pledged that beginning on November 1st, 2007, it would publicly disclose the names of anyone who was suspended under the wellness policy. Randy Orton. Now in 2018, this rule apparently no longer applies to all people under contract to WWE for in-ring services. According to Dave Meltzer in the latest issue of the Wrestling Observer newsletter, while it remains company policy to publicly disclose a WWE performer's name and duration of the suspension for a violation, this only applies to those on the main roster. Meltzer says that NXT performers and other development talents are not subject to having their name publicly disclosed for a drug testing violation. WWE Substance Abuse and Drug Testing Policy contradicts Meltzer's claim, which states that it's applicable to and binding upon all WWE talent under contract to WWE who regularly perform in-ring services in professional ring sport. Article 17, applicability of this policy. This policy, as it may be amended from time to time, Randy Orton, is applicable to and binding upon all WWE talent under contract to WWE who regularly perform in-ring services as professional wrestling sports entertainment, in quotations, WWE talent. 2 months after the policy change went into effect, WWE suspended 2 development personalities from January 15, 2008, Neil Bizabic, aka Chet Jablonski or Chet the Jet, never heard of him, and Derek Neikirk, for violations of the company's substance abuse and drug testing policies. Since then, WWE has only publicized one suspension of a developmental talent, and it was 10 years ago, Afa Anawale Jr., on March 20th, 2008, who joined the main roster later that year under the name Manu. In April 2016, WWE announced the suspensions of both Adam Rose and Connor for 60 days for the second violations of the company. However, WWE never announced when either talent was served their first suspected suspension. Meltzer said that both Rose and Connor were in development at the time of their first suspected suspensions. WWE suspended Rose in 2013 and Connor in 2006, both for 30 days. Rose is the last known suspension of a development talent. Why? I can understand why they don't do that for NXT talent, because they're not the big names. So trying to you want to give them the chance to redeem themselves, because with higher up talents like a Roman Reigns, a John Cena, a CM Punk when he was there, which I know that would never happen with CM Punk, or like a Finn Balor or Randy Orton or Kevin Owens or somebody like that who got hit, it's gonna hurt them a good bit. Randy Orton, it took him a while after his second quote unquote drug policy to even get back in the good graces of WWE. If this stuff with Roman Reigns happens, and it's true, and I'm kind of skeptical with it because of how it's going right now, and from one picture I've seen, it was like, oh, Roman Reigns, and I'm like, I don't think Roman Reigns would actually be purchasing stuff with his wrestling name. I don't think that's how that works. But it's like, if all that is true and it's after, and WWE has to be forced to suspend him for 60 days, that's going to hurt Roman Reigns' credibility in WWE 110%. He might not even get back up into the main event scene for a year or so. So giving these guys in the developmental scene the chance to actually not have their name dragged through the mud is fine. It's just, as long as you keep them, as long as they have their strikes with them brought up like Connor and Adam Rose did, then that's fine. That also explains why Connor is not, and the Ascension has been buried since who knows when, and that could be why. Moving on here, Impact Wrestling fans. Hope you're enjoying this Impact Wrestling talent, because apparently they're not getting paid again. How many times does this company, how many times? Why is that there? That's not what that's supposed to be. Wow, that is not. Apparently, the Anthem has not been getting the has not been paying their talents. Ed Nordholm of Anthem has reached for comments on the recent allegations, and he was upon him with the following statement: "Talent is not behind on their pay. We generally provide for talent to be paid as independent contractors in the month following a month in which services are rendered. This was an improvement over previous management where talents were issued only as the actual episode aired. Could be as much as 12 weeks after, before final installments were delivered. We instituted a payment policy last year to pay for all services rendered in a month in the following month, regardless of what the show would air. Accordingly, checks for January were mailed early mid-month, checks for November were mailed mid-December, and I understand got caught up in Christmas mail delays. We realize that the one unexpected impact of moving our corporate offices to Canada has been a further delay with mail services going cross-border. We are working to streamline our talent payrolls proceedings so for future events will be played closer to the beginning of each month after services are rendered." So that's just like that is a lot better for the Impact stars. These guys just jumped the gun a little bit. Oh, we haven't been paid yet. This is just like before. You gotta like read the policies, guys. I mean, if you're getting it, if they have it set up to where it's like a month, and of course they're moving the offices from Nashville to Canada was not one of the best ideas, but I guess that's where Anthem's from, so I understand why they did that. But yeah, not like, it's a lot better if they do all get their checks like mid-month or something. That's better than like, oh, you only get paid for the episode as it airs. So you could have only worked the last, like you could have been a person who wrestled in the last 2 sets of tapings, which would be the last 2 weeks of that taping, and you wouldn't get paid until those episodes aired. So this is a little bit better for them. Maybe they could find a way to speed it up a little bit better for Impact Wrestling taping superstars, but good on Nordholm for actually sitting there and being like, well, this is how we're doing things now, and things will get better as we go. So anybody who's working Impact tapings and stuff, cool your jets. Hopefully this is true and he's talking them as it is, and everything will be settled by, it is the 24th, so hopefully you all got your pays by now. On the good news when it comes to injuries, Jeff Hardy. We all love the charismatic enigma. He may be back by WrestleMania. Jeff Hardy was in Birmingham, Alabama on Tuesday to meet with doctors for an update on his injuries. According to PW Insider, Hardy is still recovering from a torn rotator cuff and a torn labrum. Those usually go hand in hand. And is looking to return to the ring this spring sometime. He has been out of action since October 2017. Which, of course, according to a lot of, like, Dave Meltzer and them, that injury was something that he's been having for a while, and it took them, and they, like, apparently the Great Balls of Fire pay-per-view is when he got injured. Had he gotten, like, if that's true, and had he gotten his injury taken care of, he'd be back on the road by now. He would be 100% back on the road. He might even be in the Elimination Chamber. So Jeff Hardy missing out on the Elimination Chamber was a sad fate because of either him or WWE management not getting him the proper medical care that he needed to when the injury supposedly took place, which was in June or July. Yes, he would have missed SummerSlam, but it would have been better for him to come back because, yeah, SummerSlam is the biggest party of the summer. It is the second biggest pay-per-view of the year for WWE, but he has he would have been back for the time for Elimination Chamber. Of course, he would have lost, and we would have saw Roman Reigns in winning the Elimination Chamber anyway. But I think Jeff Hardy being in the Elimination Chamber would have made it just a little bit better, and maybe he'd be awoken more. Maybe he'd be Brother Nero by now. Who knows? But I just went through all the news that I have. There's not much else news going on. Of course, this is the Elimination Chamber week. The preview predictions is on the website, on the YouTube page. And make sure to find me on Twitter at The Front. I will be back here on Sunday for the results show of the Elimination Chamber. As soon as it ends, I will be here talking the Elimination Chamber, where we have 6 matches now. We have the Bar versus Titus Worldwide, and I guess Gallows and Anderson versus the Mizraj, which who really cares? Gallows and Anderson wins that one. The Bar wins their match because they're going to WrestleMania. They're going to have Sheamus and Cesaro have their big moment at WrestleMania where Sheamus and Cesaro will probably lose the titles. That will probably be Sheamus' last match. They're trying their best. If he does have spinal stenosis, they're trying their best to get him to WrestleMania. We will see the Bar with the tag team titles at WrestleMania. We also have the 2 chamber matches, the men's and the women's. We have Woken Matt Hardy versus Bray Wyatt. And, of course, the Ronda Rousey thing, which you don't think that's going to happen from that, is she's going to make Stephanie McMahon cry like a bitch. Then she's going to go to WrestleMania and do the same exact thing. There's not much else really to talk about. Not really at all. But that is going to be all. Make sure to follow me on Facebook, on Twitter at The Front. Find me on twitch.tv/TheFront08. My PC blew on me, so I'm trying my best to try and get it back up. I could really use the viewership on Twitch. You guys could help me out as much as you can. I will be back again tomorrow. You guys have a good afternoon, evening, or night. Until then, and I will see you after the chamber.